whispers from the void. The galaxy had forgotten the name of Earth. 1,000 years had passed since the last human signal echoed through the stars. Most believed they were myths, stories told to frighten cadets during long patrols. But some old captains still whispered that one day the ghosts of humanity would return. Commander Varel of the Tharn Dominion never believed in ghosts. He was a soldier of logic and power, a man who trusted data over stories. His fleet had crushed rebellion, silenced pirates, and claimed systems for the Dominion. Yet even he felt uneasy when his bridge sensors picked up something from the outer edges of mapped space. Unidentified transmission, his officer said. Voice shaking slightly, the commander frowned. From where? Sector Perseus Rift, sir. It's faint, repeating on a very old frequency. Play it, he ordered. The voice that came through was cracked, distorted and human. 2 words echoed through the command deck. We're back. Silence filled the room. The crew exchanged nervous looks, unsure if they had heard correctly. Commander Varel leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Origin. Unknown, sir. It shouldn't be possible. No human beacon has ever been recorded that far out. He dismissed the signal as static, but a strange feeling crawled through his chest. Something primal. Something that whispered of danger. 3 days later, the same message was detected by 6 other empires. The Galactic Council convened to discuss it. Ambassadors argued. Scientists dismissed it. Politicians mocked it, and yet the signal continued. Never changing, never fading. We're back, whispers spread across the galaxy. Some said it was a trap set by rogue AIs. Others believed it was the return of the mythical Deathworlders. To the younger species, humans were monsters of history books. They were the ones who once fought the Krill hive mind with nuclear storms, who burned through super fortresses when the galaxy was still young. But those were stories, legends, or so everyone thought. Commander Varel was assigned to investigate. 20 Dominion battleships jumped toward the Perseus Rift. The region was silent. No planets, no stations, only drifting debris. Their scanners detected faint energy trails, old, decaying, yet strangely powerful. Then came the static, loud and sharp, filling every channel. Captain, our systems are being jammed, cried the comms officer. The commander ordered shields raised, weapons primed, and scanners recalibrated. But it was too late. Something vast was moving in the darkness. No light, no heat, no signature of life, only silence. Then the shadows parted, and a colossal shape began to emerge. A ship, black as a dying star, gliding through the void with impossible grace. It dwarfed the Dominion cruisers. Its surface shimmered with strange metallic runes. Energy pulsed beneath its armor like a heartbeat. Every ship's sensor array screamed warnings. Unknown technology, unknown material. The fleet froze, watching the impossible come alive before their eyes. Commander Varel tried to communicate, no response. He ordered a tactical scan, but the moment they tried, their systems shut down. Every ship, every engine, every weapon went dark. Only the cold hum of the alien void remained. Then through the static came a voice, deep and calm. Identify yourselves, it was human. Unmistakably human. The bridge fell silent. Impossible, whispered the navigator. Commander Varel stared at the holoscreen, heart pounding. This can't be real. But before he could respond, hundreds of signatures appeared behind the first ship. A fleet, massive and ancient, stepping out from folded space. Each vessel carried names written in an old tongue. UNS Nemesis, UNS Odyssey, UNS Valkyrie, UNS Herald of Dawn, the old war names from humanity's forgotten wars. Across the galaxy, sensors detected the same event. Worlds that once laughed at the human myth went silent. The Galactic Council demanded answers, but none came. All communication with the Perseus Rift ceased. Only one incomplete transmission reached back, filled with static and screams. They're not myths. They're real. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy trembled. For the first time, even the most arrogant empires felt fear. Because deep within the void, humanity had awakened from its long sleep, and the legends that once told of their fury were about to be proven true. The Nemesis turned its bow toward the galactic core. Its engines flared like suns. A soft voice whispered across frequencies older than memory itself. We warned you once. Then the human fleet vanished into the dark, leaving only silence behind. Commander Varel's flagship drifted powerless, watching the stars ignite in terror. And somewhere deep inside, he understood the truth the galaxy had long forgotten. Humanity was not a myth. Humanity was the storm that never truly died. The return of the Nemesis, the galaxy woke in silence. News of the human fleet's reappearance spread faster than light. From the cold towers of the Zilari Empire to the endless hive chambers of the Travk swarm. Fear rippled through every species. The council convened in panic. The first emergency session in over 200 cycles, humans are dead, extinct, barked Chancellor Reaver of the Dominion, slamming his clawed hand against the table. But even he couldn't hide the tremor in his voice. The hollow screens behind him displayed grainy images from the Perseus Rift. Dark ships, sleek, colossal, and unlike anything modern science could explain. The insignia of Earth's United Nations burned faintly on their sides. Glowing like ghosts of an old empire, Admiral Serene of the Vol Collective leaned forward. Her voice cold and sharp. "If this is real, it changes everything," she said. "If they've returned, the legends of the Death World are true." Around the chamber, whispers rose like a storm. Old records were unsealed. Forbidden texts re-examined. The words echoed across every datapad. Humanity, the apex predators of the spiral arm. Meanwhile, far from the Council's chaos, the human fleet drifted silently near a dying star. Their ships were ancient, their armor scarred by battles long forgotten. But their technology pulsed with life beyond comprehension. Inside the flagship UNS Nemesis, Captain Elena Ward stood on the command deck, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. Her uniform was faded, her eyes old and steady. "Status report," she said calmly, her voice cutting through the silence. "All systems operational." "Ma'am," replied Lieutenant Cho. "Stealth fields holding, drives at full readiness." Captain Ward turned her gaze toward the glowing dots on the map. Hundreds of inhabited systems. "So much has changed," she murmured, "but I wonder, did they learn?" The ship's AI, a smooth and ageless voice, answered softly. "They forgot us, Captain. They rewrote history, erased the Death World from their records." Elena smiled faintly. "Then we remind them." The Nemesis began transmitting a signal. It spread through every known communication channel in the galaxy. Simple, clear, and terrifying. "This is the United Nations fleet. Humanity has returned. We seek answers on dozens of worlds." Governments froze. Scientists dropped their tools. Soldiers stood staring at the sky. The message repeated again and again. Every system that tried to trace its source found their satellites fried within seconds. It wasn't an attack, it was a demonstration, a reminder of power. Commander Virel, now recovered from the encounter, was summoned before the council. His face was pale, his voice hoarse. "What did you see, Commander?" they demanded. He stared at them with haunted eyes. "I saw gods wearing the skin of men," he said quietly. "They didn't fire, didn't threaten. They just watched us like we were insects." The chamber erupted in arguments. "Exaggeration," one shouted. "A hallucination caused by radiation," claimed another. But none could ignore the incoming data. Sensors from every corner of the galaxy recorded the same gravitational disturbances. Human ships were moving, slowly, deliberately, toward the galactic center. Across the stars, panic spread. Empires began to mobilize. Fleets assembled, weapons charged, propaganda filled the airwaves. Calls for unity against the returning Deathworlders. Yet no one dared to fire first. The humans didn't conquer, didn't invade, they simply moved. Their silence louder than any threat on board the Nemesis. Captain Ward watched the chaos unfold. Her officers waited for orders, but she said nothing for a long time. Then softly she whispered, "They fear us already, good. But fear is not enough, they must remember why." The AI flickered, projecting a long list of coordinates. "Old colonies," it said. "Places we once called home before the fall." Elena nodded. "Then we start there." The fleet changed direction, engines flaring with golden light. They passed through the ruins of lost human worlds. Planets turned to ash, monuments swallowed by alien growth. Everywhere they went, the silence grew heavier. They found fragments of history erased, cultures buried beneath alien empires. And deep inside Captain Ward, something cold ignited. "Prepare the message," she said. The AI hesitated. "Are you certain, Captain?" "Once sent, there's no turning back." Elena's eyes hardened. "Let them remember the name Earth." A pulse of energy rippled through the void, carrying a signal that reached every corner of the galaxy. "We remember what you did," the words struck like thunder. For the first time in living memory, entire civilizations trembled. Empires began to realize this wasn't the return of ghosts. It was the awakening of judgment. In the dark bridge of the Nemesis, Captain Ward stood silent, watching the stars shift. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. Let the galaxy know humanity does not forget, and we do not forgive. The fleet vanished once more into the void, leaving behind fear, silence, and the beginning of reckoning. Echoes of old wars, the message spread across the stars like wildfire. Every world, every empire, every colony heard the same chilling words. We remember what you did. It echoed through command centers and war rooms, through temples and news broadcasts, through the dreams of leaders who suddenly felt very small beneath the endless sky. No one spoke openly of the old war. The history of humanity's fall had been buried long ago, rewritten by victors who feared the truth. But in the deepest archives of ancient races, the records still existed. They told of a time when the young species of Earth had stood against the entire galaxy and nearly won. They called it the War of Extinction, and now, the ghosts of that war were awake again. In the council chambers, tension hung thick as smoke. Admiral Serene slammed her hand against the console. We cannot wait. We must act before they decide to strike. Chancellor Revard glared, his scales dull under the lights. Act against what? You cannot fight shadows. You cannot fight ghosts. Ghosts don't destroy fleets, she hissed. Ghosts don't send messages that cripple entire networks. Around them, the holographic map flickered, showing red markers spreading across known space wherever the humans passed. Communication failed, satellites went dark, and ancient defense systems woke up after centuries of sleep. Unseen, unheard, they were rewriting the balance of the galaxy, far beyond council reach. Deep in the ruins of an abandoned human colony, the UNS Nemesis descended through a broken sky. The planet was blackened, its oceans long boiled away. Its surface scarred with craters of glass. Captain Elena Ward stood on the surface, her suit reflecting the dying light of twin suns. This was home once, whispered Lieutenant Cho beside her. Voice cracking through the comms, Elena knelt, brushing the dust from a broken metal plaque. The letters still visible beneath the grime. New Eden Colony. Site 21, her eyes darkened. They erased our children. Back aboard the ship, engineers worked in silence, unsealing cryovaults and data cores buried beneath centuries of dust. Inside lay memories of a lost people. Images, voices, songs, laughter. The heartbeat of a civilization stolen from time. The AI flickered alive, projecting ghostly holograms of humans smiling, waving at cameras. Then came the final moments, the bombardment. The fire, the screams. Cho turned away, his voice shaking. Captain, this was deliberate. They didn't destroy us in war. They hunted us afterward. Elena's hands clenched. And now they will understand the cost of that choice. The Nemesis transmitted again, but this time it wasn't a warning. It was a history lesson across the stars. Billions watched as the feed overrode every communication system. They saw the fall of Earth, the bombardments, the chemical storms, the silence that followed. They saw alien fleets surrounding helpless human colonies, slaughtering survivors, claiming their technology as spoils. The footage ended with the same phrase burned into every screen. We remember. Panic turned to chaos, riots broke out across worlds, citizens demanding answers from their leaders. Old alliances began to fracture. Species once proud of their role in humanity's fall now tried to hide it, deleting records, burning archives, but it was too late. Humanity had already seen everything, and the galaxy knew it. Meanwhile, far from the chaos, in the dark expanse between galaxies, something else stirred. Old war machines built during the first human empire, AI constructs too dangerous to be allowed freedom, began to awaken. Their cores recognized the command codes from the Nemesis. They answered with a single transmission. Awaiting orders. Mother. Captain Ward stood before the central holodisplay, her face illuminated by pale light. These were our sentinels, said the AI. The fleet guardians of the old empire, dormant for nearly a millennium. Elena nodded slowly. Then we are not alone anymore. Your orders? The AI asked. Her voice was calm, but every word carried the weight of centuries. Reclaim the lost colonies, protect human heritage, and let every empire that profited from our death know we are watching. The sentinels responded in silence. Hundreds of automated ships ignited across forgotten sectors, forming constellations of fire. The galaxy's edges began to glow red as ancient human machines awoke one by one. Worlds trembled as old satellites reactivated, broadcasting Earth's anthem into the stars, a sound not heard for 1,000 years. A song of mourning and of vengeance back in the council. The arguments turned to desperation. "We must contact them, beg for peace," cried one ambassador. "They do not want peace." Another growled. "They want remembrance." The chancellor lowered his head. And remembrance always comes with judgment. As the meeting descended into chaos, a transmission cut through their comms. It was Captain Ward herself, her face appearing before every leader in the galaxy. Her eyes were calm, ancient, and filled with something none of them could name. "Your ancestors erased our home," she said softly. "But the stars never forget, and neither do we." Behind her, the Nemesis's engines blazed like suns. "Humanity does not seek war," she continued. "We seek truth, we seek balance, and if balance demands fire, then so be it." The screen went black, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy understood that myths could bleed, and that the storm once banished to legend had come home again. The judgment protocol, the galaxy trembled beneath a silence it could not comprehend. Empires had risen and fallen, wars had scarred the stars, but nothing had ever felt like this. For the first time in known history, every species looked toward the void and felt small. Humanity had not spoken again, not attacked, not invaded, and that was what terrified everyone the most. In the council chambers, fear had turned to desperation. The great leaders of the galaxy gathered beneath the glow of the central star map. Each red dot marked a system where human ships had been sighted. And each day, more dots appeared, spreading like blood through the void. Chancellor Revar slammed his clawed fist onto the table. "They're reclaiming entire sectors. We cannot just wait for extinction." Admiral Serene glared back. "And what would you have us do? Attack them? Do you want another war of extinction?" Revar hissed, his eyes wild. "We must strike first, before they decide to finish what they started." The room filled with shouting, trembling voices of panic, until a single word silenced them all. Judgment. It came from the voice of an old being, Archon Vale, of the Aryan Ascendancy. He had lived longer than most civilizations had existed. "The humans have invoked judgment," he said softly. "It is written in their history, in their wars, in their silence. They warned us once before, and we did not listen. Now the stars themselves will bear witness." At that same moment, across the Perseus Rim, the UNS Nemesis prepared for something unseen since the dawn of the Galactic Age. Its crew moved with quiet purpose, and the air felt heavy. Charged with the weight of destiny, Captain Elena Ward stood before the main viewport, her reflection framed by the stars. "Status?" she asked. "All systems synchronized, energy cores stable," replied Lieutenant Cho. "Sentinel fleet standing by." "And the judgment protocol?" "Ready on your command, Captain." The AI flickered beside her, its form glowing faintly blue. "Are you certain, Elena? This will change everything." She looked out into the endless dark, her voice steady. "They changed everything 1,000 years ago when they buried us. When they erased Earth, now we remind them what that cost." A soft chime echoed through the ship. Hundreds of subroutines activated in perfect harmony, deep within the Nemesis. Ancient vaults opened for the first time since the fall. Inside them slept weapons no longer meant for conquest, but for memory, orbital constructs of light, coded with history itself, data warheads designed to infect, reveal, and teach as the fleet advanced. These data cores scattered into the stars. They didn't explode, they didn't destroy. Instead, they rewrote the digital hearts of empires, forcing every world to see the truth. Images filled alien skies, cities burning under alien fire, human colonies erased, children hiding in shelters that never opened again. Every race saw their own ancestors' crimes reflected back at them. Entire populations fell silent, unable to look away. Back in the council chamber, chaos erupted. Screens across the hall showed the same footage. The same ghosts. Ambassadors screamed for the feed to be cut. But the systems no longer listened. It was as if the galaxy itself had turned against them. Then came a voice, clear, human, and old. Captain Ward spoke, her image flickering across every star system. "You called us myths," she said quietly. "You erased our name, our worlds, our dead, and you built your empires on our bones." Her gaze was calm, unblinking. "Now the galaxy will remember. Not through fire, but through truth," Chancellor Revar snarled, his scales quivering. "You speak of truth, and yet you bring fear." Elena's eyes seemed to pierce through the screen. "We bring reflection," she said. "Fear is the shadow of guilt, not of power." The transmission ended, leaving only silence, but not everyone shared her restraint. Among the human fleets, some captains had waited too long for vengeance. The UNS Ares and UNS Revenant broke formation, launching energy pulses into Dominion outposts that once enslaved human survivors. Entire defense grids crumbled under the precision of ancient weapons. The Council screamed of violation, but the humans made no move to stop their own. On the Nemesis, Lieutenant Cho turned toward his captain. "Ma'am, do we intervene?" Elena's jaw tightened, her voice low. "No, let them see our chaos too. Let them see we are not gods, but survivors." Across the galaxy, an eerie pattern emerged. Human fleets destroyed only the worlds tied to the genocide of old. They spared those who were innocent. They never fired first. It was judgment, not conquest. Not revenge, a storm made of precision, purpose and grief. And then came the second message, one that none expected. It came not from humans, but from a dying Dominion commander whose world had been spared. He stood before the galaxy's cameras, trembling. We attacked them once and they could have ended us now," he said. "But they did not. They showed us who we were, and they showed us mercy." He looked at the sky, tears glinting in alien eyes. Maybe humanity returned to remind us what we lost, our own souls. In the command bridge of the Nemesis, the crew listened in silence. Captain Ward closed her eyes, whispering softly, "Then perhaps judgment has already begun." The human fleet turned once more toward the galactic core, their engines burning like suns, their voices carried in the static. Humanity remembers, but we also forgive. And across the galaxy, every empire fell silent, not from fear, but from shame. The legacy of Earth, the stars were quiet again. The human fleets no longer moved. No more transmissions, no more judgment. For the first time in months, the galaxy stood still, listening to the silence left behind, a silence heavier than war, filled with memory and meaning across thousands of worlds. The truth of what happened had changed everything. Entire civilizations halted their expansion. Empires that once ruled through fear began dismantling their slave fleets. The word human was no longer whispered in dread, but in reverence. For they had seen what humanity could have done, and what humanity chose instead: forgiveness. In the Great Council Hall, the remaining leaders gathered again. No shouting, no pride, only quiet voices and bowed heads. A single holographic projection floated at the center. Earth, long thought destroyed, now glowing with the faint signature of life. "How is this possible?" murmured Admiral Serene, eyes wide. The scientists had no answer. Every attempt to scan the planet failed. Every probe vanished upon entry. It was as if Earth itself had chosen to stay hidden, far beyond the Council's reach. The UNS Nemesis orbited a small blue-green world. Captain Elena Ward stood at the viewport, watching clouds swirl over the oceans below. After 1,000 years, the home of humankind lived again. Not rebuilt by machines, not by conquest, but by time itself. Forests had reclaimed cities. Rivers ran clear. Animals roamed free beneath ancient towers of stone. Lieutenant Cho approached slowly, his voice filled with awe. "Captain, scans show new species down there, hybrids of human DNA and native life." Elena smiled faintly. "Then the legacy continues even without us." He hesitated. "Will we return to the stars again?" Her gaze drifted to the endless dark beyond the planet. "Maybe one day, but not now," she said softly. "The galaxy doesn't need our warships anymore. It needs our memory inside the ship's core." The AI pulsed gently, all systems entering preservation mode. "Ma'am," it said, "if we sleep now, we may never wake again." Elena touched the cold glass of the viewport, her reflection shimmering beside the Earth below. "Then we sleep," she whispered, "and let them find their own light." Across the fleet, identical orders were given. Thousands of ships aligned in orbit around Earth, forming a vast constellation across the sky. One by one, their engines dimmed, their lights fading to quiet embers. Each vessel became a monument, each name etched into the eternal night. Nemesis, Odyssey, Herald of Dawn, Valkyrie, the guardians of humanity's memory, now eternal sentinels above their reborn home in distant corners of the galaxy. Alien civilizations built temples dedicated to the lesson of Earth. Some carved statues of humans in armor. Others painted murals of blue skies and oceans they had never seen. The legend of the Death World became a prayer, a reminder that even the most dangerous species could choose mercy. That strength was not in destruction, but in restraint. Centuries passed, empires faded, stars collapsed, and new races rose from the ashes, yet across all of time, one truth endured. Humanity had changed the galaxy not through domination, but through remembrance. One quiet night on the reborn Earth, a child looked up at the heavens. She saw the faint shimmer of ancient ships like distant stars. Her mother smiled and told her the story of the ones who came before. They were called humans, she said gently, and they taught the galaxy what it means to be alive. The child's eyes widened, filled with wonder. Will they ever come back? Her mother looked at the sky, where the nemesis glowed faintly in orbit. Maybe they never left, she whispered. High above, deep within the silent warship, lights flickered once more. A heartbeat echoed through the cold halls, and a voice, soft, human, and eternal, spoke into the void. We are humanity, and we remember. The stars answered in silence, and for the first time in galactic history, the universe itself seemed at peace.